say? U.S. women's national team and Ashlyn Harris specifically have a shot at setting that record. It's a celebration fit for world conquerors with our group of, well, our panel. Let's go.
Content is gold.
I mean, we're talking J.R. Smith levels. That's where Ashlyn is right now. J.R. Smith levels. This parade, frolicsome, hilarious, aggressive, intense, whatever it decided to be, as you would expect from this team. You can see all the equal pay signs.
Our lawsuit? In trees.
Ashlyn Harris's IG off the rails. Rapinoe at the podium.
This conversation is at the next step. Do what you have to do. Step outside yourself. Be more. Be better. Be bigger than you've ever been before.
Sarah Spain, I loved your piece today on ESPN.com, especially this part, how this team has stopped being aspirational and is now instructional. Can you please expound and describe the moment we saw today?
Yeah, aspirational, not just for kids, which is what we usually talk about, role models for kids, but as a grown woman, I'm watching them be unfiltered and unbothered by judgment. I'm watching them not care if the world is judging them in any way. They're using LGBTQ swagger alongside athlete swagger. They're showing us how to play the game, how to change the game. They're doing all the things that as women, we don't get to see that much. Like we see J.R. Smith, we see the Capitals after a Stanley Cup win do something like this. It's not just the game, it's the celebrating and the owning of how great they are that makes me think, okay, I got to stop asking for just a welcome to the party. I want to walk into the party. They're taking something that isn't necessarily even offered to them in terms of spotlight. While so many other things are sort of working against them, they're walking right through all those obstacles and just saying, we're going to take it. We're going to be on top of the sports world in ways we don't get to see that much with women, and it's just awesome.
And we were talking about this earlier, the equal pay chance. I was somewhere in that sea of people. I heard equal pay more than I heard anything else at today's parade. Sarah, do you want to address that?
It's complicated, right? It's about FIFA and how much money they give based on the World Cup earnings. It's based on so many things, but the conversation is going to be had, and that's what matters. And because they're unified in a group and demanding it, which is what we saw before from the '99 team, which is what we saw from the U.S. women's hockey team, that unification is really the thing that's going to make the change. And so is all the money that they are making right now for the U.S. Soccer Federation. When it comes down to money, you can't look at anything other than hard numbers, and they're bringing that home.
Additionally, the business, right? The business. We saw Adidas put up bonus money. We saw Luna Bar put up bonus money as well. All those monies are complicated, and we can get into that in a bit. Tim Kalish, I want to bring you in here. Your thoughts on this parade today and this team and how they are taking the next steps after this World Cup?
Well, they really are taking the next step. And I loved a couple things about Megan Rapinoe's speech. One, she acknowledged she's been both a victim and a perpetrator of some of the noise that kind of drives us all a little bit crazy, and she kind of laughed about it. But more importantly, she said we need to love more, hate less, listen more, talk less. And with the exception of the talk less component on this show, she's right about all that stuff. We all need to be doing those things.
Yeah.
And, you know, when it comes to the equal pay element, it should be not just is the women's soccer team going to get where they need to be. We all know equal pay for women across the board in all kinds of situations. Equal pay for minorities. All of that stuff can be addressed by them because the conversation has begun.
Can we flesh out that a little bit more? And Woody Page, I'll turn to you. I mean, there's been multiple conversations happening here, and I guess it's important to fix on one thing. Let's talk about U.S. Soccer Federation, men's team, women's team, what the pay is. The numbers are all over the place. Then you hear about the global game, and of course men are making more, but women are making a higher percentage of what the World Cup's in. I see your face right now, Woody Page. Do you want to address that?
Well, in regard to equal pay, obviously that should happen, as Tim said, in both not only soccer, but in terms of the entire country and the workforce that exists here. But I want to enjoy and entertain this moment. And I think it reminds me of 39 years ago with the 1980 Miracle on Ice hockey team and how that continued, how that grew the sport, how those players were able to be appreciated to this day. And I think this example that we're seeing is going to continue, and it's not only going to affect women's soccer in this country, I think it's going to affect high school soccer and junior soccer. I just think that it's going to have a profound result and affect not only on equal pay, on the sport of soccer, and just basically on what's going on. If you heard that speech, the talk this morning, that what's going on in this country. I keep telling people, and Sarah and I talked about this on our podcast, that just be civil. And we're seeing the civility maybe being exposed by what they have accomplished.
Bill Plaschke, your thoughts?
Yeah, has any social justice speech ever been more relatable? Has any team ever been more relatable in this area? I mean, with the exception of the fact that there's no Latinos on the team, and that's an issue that soccer needs to deal with. It's an economic issue. The team looks like most of America. It sounds like most of America. It acts like most of America. And they celebrate. I love the celebration. The celebrations have been better than the games, more exciting than the games because they're so human. I mean, they're getting drunk, they're cursing, they're dancing poorly, they're shouting, they're underpaid. Everyone can relate to them, and they're taking advantage of this moment. I'm so happy that they've turned this into a cry for some social equity and social, gender equity in this country. It's so wonderful. The whole thing's so wonderful.
Put a bookmark right now in the pay. I want to talk about that social equity. And Sarah, I'll address this to you. In her thoughts at the podium today, we heard from Megan Rapinoe talking about listening. And then, of course, if you want to see it one way, she's been very vocal in the past, and you could say, you should listen more, Megan Rapinoe. Or we're talking about civility, and people can say, well, the words you used before saying you weren't going to the White House weren't so civil as other. How do you consider all that as well?
Well, she apologized for some words. I'm not sure which ones. I will say that the only problem with trying to do a both sides on some issues is that one side occasionally is pushing for love and equality and justice and all the good things, and the other side so often is trying to shout people down for asking for basic rights. And I don't know that you can always look at someone like Megan Rapinoe and say you should listen as hard to someone who hates the very substance of who you are as they should listen to you for trying to explain your own humanity.
Tim?
I just think it is important. The whole part about listening, no matter which side you're on, none of us are very good at it. All of us are entrenched with our feelings on every issue. Listening is the key to everything.
Bill Plaschke?
Democracy is messy. Standing up for who you are is messy. I certainly can give them a pass for all that because this is how the process works. This is how they relate and embraced by all of America.
And Woody Page?
Howard, listen to this, though. I think that really you don't bring yourself down to the level of people that you're talking about. And we're in this regard, I think that she did make a mistake by lowering herself to what her critics were saying.
Thanks for your thoughts on that, guys. We'll have some more thoughts and maybe post Megan Rapinoe's full comments online today as well. We'll move on now for NBA news of the day. Kawhi Leonard's Clippers contract. 3 years, $103 million maximum. And the option here, player option in the third season. Bill, do those numbers and years change your view of this deal? The risk the Clippers are maybe taking, or maybe the risk Kawhi is taking?
I was startled when I saw the numbers, but you think about it, no, it really didn't change my view of the deal. It's the deal the Clippers had to make. The bigger issue here is they're trying to get an arena built down in Inglewood, and the whole process is going to be a full ramped up the next couple of years. They need to win now. They need to make sure the Lakers don't swallow them up now. They need to make their mark on L.A. and the NBA now. They have 2 years to do it. It's a risk. They traded away everything for it. It's a risk the Clippers had to take.
Woody Page?
Well, I do think it changed everything, Bill. When you look at it in 2021, those two players, George and Leonard, will be in positions to get $50 million a year. We're talking about taking another step in the NBA just a couple of years from now. So, yes, you thought this was going to be a team that was going to be together for 3 or 4 years with those two players, and it's going to be a sense of urgency, as you said. Maybe it's based on an arena. Maybe it's based on that the owner wants to win so badly and surpass the Lakers, who've done their own job during the offseason. But I think that the details, the devil's in the details here. When we see that this is not long-term contracts, this is a pretty short term, and they better get it done in a hurry.
Tim Kalisha?
I mean, I think you have to look at it a little differently. We already thought Oklahoma City did a great job getting 2 pretty good players and 5 first-round picks to get Paul George there. And now to know that it's a 2-year rental, both these guys are L.A. guys, and both of them should, you would think, want to stay in L.A. But can anybody say for sure what Kawhi Leonard or Paul George are going to be thinking in 2 years? I'm interested to see which teams are tanking and clearing salary cap room in 2 years to try to make room for those two, believing they can get them out of Los Angeles.
Spain.
Yeah, it's a star-driven league, and that's what we know. Like, you can build all you want. If you don't get one of those top players onto your team, multiple of those top players onto your team, you're not going to contend. So rather than putting in the work to gradually grow and build, which is what the Clippers have done now they hit on the big names, and that urgency is important, not just because of the deal, but because deals don't really matter anymore. Anthony Davis says, I want out, and there's really no option and leverage for the team. He's out. Paul George just signed a 4-year max, and look, he's already out. So this is the new NBA, and it's unfortunate for teams that are trying to build and play a long plan. But if you're the Clippers, you needed to get them, and now that you have them, you need to win now to keep them. It doesn't seem that different than anywhere else.
Here's what I love about the NBA. The minute this news broke this morning, all over LA, people were saying, wait a minute, 2 years? LeBron's got 2 years. Okay. In 2 years, Kawhi and Paul George are going to the Lakers.
But you know what? For the moment, that's going to be a banned word for you. If it's a Clippers discussion, you cannot bring up the Lakers, all right? Heard this on the PTI program. Kornheiser said this, an old friend. There is no future of the NBA. It's always right now. And I think that's what we're seeing with all these deals and all the player power. We'll be back. Buy or sell on the other side.
Around the Horn is brought to you by Miralax. It works with the water in your body to unblock your system.
You guys come down on AllStar Game MVPs for fifth inning striking at the side hometown pitchers.
Love it.
All right, a question Bill Plaschke answers. There you go. Nobody cries for Joey Gallo. American 4, National 3, Shane Bieber MVP. All-Star rating is up 27%. So baseball frolicking in that. Also this week, Verlander chin music about the juice ball. Players outwardly talking about labor unrest. Players Association talking about how the league doesn't market stars. Bill Plaschke, was this week a win or a loss for Major League Baseball?
Big win for baseball. They had the drama of the home run derby. They had a conspiracy theory with the balls. And they introduced America to a bunch of the new stars. Ronald Acuna Jr., Vlad Jr., Pete Alonso. Great week for baseball.
Conspiracy theory, good thing for baseball? Is that what you're saying? Okay. Woody Page?
Yes, oh, yeah, it gets people talking.
I'm getting you silenced right now.
Bill's
Woody, go ahead.
absolutely right. It was a major league win. I mean, talk about marketing. They were able to market themselves and those young players. They had a great hitting display at the home run derby. Did a great pitching game last night that actually was on pace. It was less than 3 hours. The entire weekend, let the young people play, and that's exactly what they did. They had fun.
Let the young people play.
Okay, this was a win. This was a low-scoring win with a lot of strikeouts. First of all, the home run derby is still way too long, and once again, the best hitter doesn't win it, just like Josh Hamilton didn't win.
Here we go. All right. Yep.
Vlad Guerrero Jr. didn't win because he's out of gas by the end. Last night, 16 strikeouts for the American League. Great pitching beats great hitting. We already knew that.
Sarah Spain.
Yeah, I agree. We're talking about it, and that's what baseball needs the most. We're talking about the young players. We're talking about the guys in the home run derby. The $1 million prize was great for guys that are making about $500K. It gave them more incentive. We're talking about whatever's on Jock Peterson's neck, conspiracy theories, CBA. We're talking about all aspects of baseball, and it's such a regional game.
All right, talking about conspiracy theories is a good thing. I didn't realize this, but you know, you're back.
So I get some
you're
points
back,
for that.
Bill Plaschke. Let's mic up players. Yay or yay on this one? Do you think this could happen in a real game, Kalisha?
No.
No?
I don't want it in a real game, but it's fun to have all the Astros talking to each other out there in the field.
Yeah, this is such a great thing for baseball. You can't do it in the regular games, but in the moments that you do have some personality coming forward, that's when people fall in love with guys and decide that they want to invest in the sport beyond just.
Why couldn't you do it in the real games? Not an interview.
Regular game?
Not what they did with Freeman when he's at the plate and a ball's coming up.
Swear words.
No, if you tell a guy you have a mic on you, so don't curse. And then you get those moments where it's like, ooh, stay back, or whatever they're saying. I mean, that might be cool. We'll move on. Buy or sell too.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's pointless at the end of the day to have rules that we can't enforce. I think it hurts the perception of integrity around the league if people say, well, you have that rule. So, and it's obvious that teams aren't fully complying, so why do you have it?
Woody, what do you buy or sell from Silver yesterday?
I'm selling most of his conversation. He identifies a problem, then he doesn't offer any solutions. If you think it is such a detriment to the NBA, call a summit of the players and coaches and administrators and try to figure it out. But as far as I'm concerned, it's like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. There are no rules in a knife fight. There are no rules in the NBA anymore in regard to how people are going to treat each other in terms of contact and movement.
I'm buying that the commissioner has cause to be worried, but I'm not sure he's worried about the right things. And when I say this, the players make too much money. That's not an old man saying the players make too much money. It's they make so much money. The bird rights that whole thing doesn't work anymore. They don't care if, I make $40 million a year if I stay. I make $35 million a year if I go somewhere else. 35 is okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's monopoly money at this point, right? When Kawhi Leonard has $110 million less than what he would have gotten if he'd taken that max deal from the Spurs. $110 million less. I think he's kind of worried about this because the integrity is an issue. At the same time, I think he's enjoying how impressive the NBA's takeover of the offseason is because we're all talking about
All right, enough when we're talking about it. That's our job to talk about it. I mean, Bill Plaschke, how about you?
Let's just cut to the chase. Let's start free agency the minute the NBA Finals ends. That's all. The rules don't work. Have no rules. The whole league is great because the players are so empowered. Let's let them be empowered.
Well, all of this is related to Marcus Morris, right? Can we talk about that? Will he stick with the Spurs, which was reported he verbally agreed to, or will he pull out and go to the Knicks, which is reported a possibility? And what would that mean? Would that be improper? Tim Callister, you want to weigh in here?
Well, it's a mess for the Spurs. They made roster moves in a trade thinking that he was coming, and now maybe he's not. This is an example where the players having power could be too much power.
Dara Spain?
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough one. If it's not actually written down, should the Spurs be making those moves until they've guaranteed that he's coming? Maybe not. But at the same time, I love player empowerment. We also have to let teams build. And it's tough to build if guys can renege on contracts and get out of their contracts early.
We showed that tweet there from Jared Weiss of The Athletic saying, this is somebody backing out on a contract like this should be a suspendable offense. A 1-year suspension, I think is what he wrote there. How do you hear that, Plaschke?
No, I hear that as silly. He didn't sign a contract. The Spurs should have known a player like this maybe would change his mind. And again, look at what happened to DeAndre Jordan. The Mavericks were so mad at him, they re-signed him a couple years later. Mm-hmm. So, the teams have to get used to this. This is the way the NBA
And
is.
after everything you just said about empowerment and integrity, Woody, where are you on that if a player were to break a verbal agreement?
As a Hollywood mogul once said, an oral agreement is not worth the paper it's written on. He didn't sign anything. There should be no suspension. There should be, everybody on this program, everybody watching this program has changed their minds at one point in their lives. And if they didn't sign anything, even if you buy a car, you can get out of it.
Wow, Woody, you are our godfather here. And somehow, some way, the young man's going to play in Showdown. Plaschke's done. Sarah Spain, thanks for the thoughts today.
Let the young
Woody
man
Page,
play.
Tim Callister. It's a young man's game. All right, Showdown next. Sponsored by AARP.